So when you get precious snowdrops through the post, one of the biggest challenges is you've spent a few bob and where to put it. And you may be panicking because it needs to go in the ground and you don't want to lose it, and you need the right amount of light and the right amount of moisture and all these things. So you can spend a very long time looking for space. Yeah, and also I consider the height of the snowdrop in relation to what's around it, because they can look really, really messy if you have all these different heights. And here's a good example actually. This is on the end, this LYCI, because it's super big, super tall, and it wouldn't have looked right in amongst all of the naturalized ones over here. But in amongst these are the more rare ones, but they're similar heights. Call me a pedant, but it can look really messy if you're not careful. But they do need to be protected. You do need to pick the right place. You don't want to lose them. So this bed here has got quite a few smaller ones around the perimeter that are in cages just at the moment, or cloches. And so this one has arrived yesterday in the post, which is Kite, which is huge. I mean, it's 35 centimetres high. Now I've just lain that there because I think that's a suitable spot. It is not at the edge, because I've got shorter stuff there. It's not quite the same as planting perennials. And I also know that there's going to be coverage around that in the summer, because there is a geranium pratense in there which comes up really 70, 80, 90 centimetres. And ultimately there's also an evergreen there. This bed has been extended by 1 metre this way. It was a wildlife strip that just did not work. It worked, but it was crazy. The nutrients in the soil were so rich. So I just extended it and put the path in. Anyway, there's the evergreen there that ultimately will grow slowly but surely, which is a specific euonymus which takes the place of all the boxes that everybody's lost through box moth caterpillar. Anyway, going back to Kite, you can see she's huge. That's a great spot there in my view. So let's come to the back of the house. There's where the sun comes. It tracks all around there. So we have an arch here to protect it. There is nothing planted at the base of that just yet. I'm still thinking about that because that only went in last year. I'm creating more and more height to protect the soil and protect the wildlife and protect the plants. And of course always more interest. Just to digress, these are only £119. I think it's Tom Chambers, but they're very good. And they're not in your face. Anyway, going back to this, so the light is going to come up here and a track around, and it's not going to desiccate this, not going to dry out, it's just not. So I'm happy with that spot. It's a tall one, it's a big one. We'll see what happens. Okay, so that's one decision. Now let's just go back to, for the first time this year, I've decided to put snowdrops in these beds now, named ones rather than, there's a cloth just gone over it, just put that back on there. So I have had, there were an OEI in there, I put those in last year, and I put some Nivalis in last year, and they've been okay. Now, I'm going to repeat, look, there's the house, come that way, there's the sun. So these are getting notably dry. These are geranium beds. They used to be veg beds many years ago, but they're also full of solitary bees, which if you listen to me, you've heard me say all this before, but I've decided this year to put some of the named drops in these beds. 13 actually altogether. You can see them in different places. They've not got their proper labels yet. They've still got the white labels that came with them, but they will of course have their correct labels, which is this angled T that's angled backwards with a brother label machine. But this is really interesting. This is a first this year. Look, something is really enjoying the plastic. There's two there nibbled. So I might have to put the wildlife camera out. Anyway, digressing as always. So I've decided that two precious ones, one particular, they're going to go in here as well. So this particular plant comes up and is semi-evergreen. So this has stayed over the winter. This is a semi-evergreen perennial. So it's not like a hard, it's not fully deciduous. It's not going to drop away completely like this one, for example. This red admiral here, there's a big clump of that there, and you can see the new growth. So there's no foliage on it over the winter, whereas some of these geranium fams, and I feel like this, what have we got here? Hang on. Oh yeah, yes, symphytum. Okay, so that's a semi-evergreen. So they will protect this, which is where I've decided to put Alison Hillary here. I'll put my trowel in a minute and see if I've got enough space, and if it's full of roots then I'll change my mind, but I can pretty much guarantee that's going to be okay in there. So, and then next to it, again smaller at the edges, is this precious one, green tea, and it's going to be next to that, which is great. And it's got alliums here and oxonianum there and some phaeum there, so it's going to have a good lot of protection and not dry out, and I can see there's not roots there. So your planting decision on your precious snowdrops could not be more important. You take into account what they call the aspect, so where your sun is, which way your garden faces. You can use your compass app if you've got an iPhone, or I imagine most phones have got the compass app now, so you can then work out, stand with your back to the back of your house and work out which way it faces, and that's the bit that people get very confused about. This side of the garden is where most of the snowdrops are, which is the north side. This is the south side, and I put these trees in a few years ago just to sort of obliterate Jill's side of her house, and start to afford some protection against the climate really and what's happening to these beds. And because it's raised, it dries out, so it does get a lot of mulching and compost put in it. So it's a big decision. They're all going in there. I think they'll be fine because of the test ones. So, you know, just think about your aspect, what growth is around them for the summer, what protection, what leaf protection they've got in the summer when they die back. Okay, that's the crucial thing. And you can see, say on this corner, and it's quite moist down here. Obviously you need moisture, good moisture, and the soil can't stay waterlogged, but it does need moisture. So you can see down here, I've clumped these guys together: Beatrix Stanley, Wendy's Gold, Elfin, Precious Ones. There's another way for me to make sure they're all okay. And then I will routinely remove chunks of the phaeums so that they don't, you know, cover too much. But this oxonianum here is a very beautiful chalk mark one. I can't remember which one this is right now without looking at my charts. But you've got the pulmonaria there, which will come up and protect this, but also this oxonianum will come up and protect this bulbs here, so they do not dry out. Anyway, my God, lengthy one, but the planting is so important, otherwise you will lose your snowdrops. And just to show you, here there's none, because it's round with Heckenacloa and also Walter's Gift, a geranium, and some blind daffodils that will eventually die back to nothing. So there's none here, and this Everillo grass, but you can see, you know, there's so many that side. And if I walk up here, which is where it gets baked in the sun, there's only a few, and they have worked, and I worked that out before Whereas in here, it's too dark because you have this sorbus and then the apple tree and then the skimmia down low. But that corner gets a bit more. And so there you have it. In here, these have worked, but you can see how long they've gone to reach the sun, which is not a great look. And I have got April Fool in there caged, which is the one that's very late. So my fingers are crossed for that. But they're coming up nicely. And I can see buds on 2 of them. So that's fantastic. So they are really so much to consider. But if you've spent the money, then you must consider all these things. Anyway, tons of love and happy dropping.